Most people read the Bible and they totally miss this part. It's not a modern health book, but hidden right there in those old writings is a secret recipe for food that never runs out and that is packed with stuff your body needs. You think of endless protein and you picture a farm or maybe a freezer full of meat. Forget all that. We are going back thousands of years to the way people grew pure, ready-to-eat fuel inside their houses, maybe even in a dark corner of a pantry. You only need two things, water and a cheap handful of something you can buy for maybe $1 at the grocery store. This is the original survival trick. When you look at a tiny seed, it looks dead. It's dry, it's hard, it's just sleeping. But inside that tiny seed is everything it needs to become a whole plant. Think of it like a fully charged battery waiting to be turned on. When you add water, you flip the switch. It wakes up and screams, "I need to grow." And that is where we jump in. We are basically catching that tiny plant baby right as it's waking up, right as it's exploding with energy. It's like finding a treasure chest just as it gets completely full. That little seed suddenly multiplies its protein level and all the good energy stuff your body uses to fix itself. It makes those sleeping vitamins go crazy, waking them up so they are super easy for your body to grab. It happens fast. We're talking 3 or 4 days, not 3 months. And you can grow an entire bowl of protein for pennies on the dollar, right on your kitchen counter. This is not science fiction. This is just following the instructions that have been sitting there the whole time. What we are talking about is unlocking the perfect cheat code for food. This secret is so old, it shows up in stories written thousands of years ago, stories about how people survived when they only had a handful of dry seeds left. Those ancient people figured out how to turn something small and hard into something soft and powerful, and they did it with the simplest food you can imagine. The first secret ingredient you need for your unlimited protein farm is the humble lentil. Yes, those little dried flat discs you find in the dusty bins at the grocery store. Right now, a dry lentil is like a battery that's still taped up in the package. It has huge amounts of energy, but your body has to work really hard to open that plastic wrap and get the charge out. It can make your stomach rumble and sometimes even feel a little heavy because it is designed to be tough. A dry seed is sleeping, waiting for the perfect moment to become a whole plant. But we don't want a whole plant. We want that magical moment when the seed wakes up and says, "Okay, time to make my protein easy to eat." Think of the lentil as a tiny storage locker. When you simply add water and give it a few days in the dark, it thinks spring has arrived. It starts tearing down the walls inside its locker and unpacking all its most valuable goods, the protein, the iron, all that healthy green stuff. That process of waking up is what multiplies the good stuff inside and makes it super easy for your stomach to grab. It's like turning a complicated Lego instruction book into a simple picture book. This is the power of the ancient method, and it is ridiculously easy. You don't need fancy soil, bright sunlight, or even a garden. You just need a glass jar and a piece of cloth. Here's the plan for turning $2 worth of dry lentils into a huge bowl of fresh, powerful protein that keeps you full for hours. First, you take a 1/4 cup of dry lentils, seriously, just a little handful, and dump them into a jar. Cover them completely with fresh water, not fancy water, just tap water. This is the soaking phase. You let them sit like that for about 8 hours. This is the seed's first big gulp of water, the alarm clock going off. After those 8 hours, you pour the water out completely. This part is critical. You do not want the seeds sitting in water anymore. You just want them to be damp, like they just came out of a shower. You put a piece of breathable fabric, like cheesecloth, or even just a scrap of screen, over the jar opening and secure it with a rubber band. Now, turn the jar upside down and let any extra droplets drain out. Now you have a jar full of damp,
waiting lentils. Where do they go next? Into a dark cupboard. They need darkness and air, which tricks them into thinking they are buried in the soil, and it is time to grow. Twice a day, morning and night, you bring the jar out, add fresh water, slosh them around for a second, and then immediately drain the water out again and put them back in the dark cupboard. This is the rinsing step, and it is like giving them a quick drink and a breath of fresh air, so they don't get stuffy. By the second day, you'll start seeing little white tails poking out of your lentils. Those little tails are the signal that the seeds have opened their internal safes. They are now officially protein powerhouses. By the third or fourth day, those tails will be long and curly, and you will have a jar of fresh, crunchy sprouts ready to eat. That small handful you started with has now swollen to 3 or 4 times its original size. You just grew unlimited protein on your kitchen counter without turning on a stove, spending $50 on protein powder, or buying a single piece of fancy equipment.
That small handful you started with has now swollen to 3 or 4 times its original size. You just grew unlimited protein on your kitchen counter without turning on a stove, spending $50 on protein powder, or buying a single piece of fancy equipment. This is the secret that farmers and smart cooks have known for millennia. We are literally unlocking the vault inside the seed. Think of a lentil, or any dried bean, as a tiny time capsule. It's built to survive harsh winters and long droughts, and because of that, all its energy, the protein, the vitamins, the good stuff, is packed inside a super hardened shell. It is locked down. This like if you packed everything you owned into massive, heavily taped moving boxes. The stuff is in your house, but you can't easily get to it or use it right now. That's why sometimes eating dried beans can be tough on your stomach. Your body has to spend a massive amount of energy trying to rip open those survival boxes to get to the protein inside. But when we add water and let the seed wake up, we are essentially handing it the master key to its own safe. The seed thinks the rain has arrived and it's time to grow a mighty plant, so it flips a switch internally. It immediately starts turning the heavy, complicated stuff it stored, that dense, hard-to-digest protein, into super easy, readily available building blocks. It is unpacking all those boxes instantly and setting everything out on the table for you. When you eat the sprout, you are getting the protein at its freshest, most powerful moment, right when it has unlocked its internal safe and made everything easy to absorb. This is why this method is so powerful and so unbelievably cheap. You aren't buying special protein that was mixed in a factory and shipped across the world. You are taking a handful of the cheapest food available, plain dried beans or lentils that cost pennies, and letting them do the factory work themselves on your countertop using only water. Look at the difference. People spend fortunes buying supplements that are highly processed and flavored to mask whatever they are made of. That's like trying to fix a tiny scratch on your bicycle by buying a new car engine and paying 5 mechanics to install it. What we are doing is the equivalent of noticing a slightly rusty hinge on a door and putting a single drop of oil on it. It's the simplest, most direct solution to a major problem. You just need to get in the habit of keeping the environment clean. Remember that comparison to cleaning a house? You have to keep washing the seeds every day because as they start to wake up and unpack those internal safes, they release a little bit of waste product, kind of like dust and residue. If you don't rinse that out, it just sits there and can make your sprouts unhappy. Rinsing them, just pouring clean water over them every 12 hours and draining it, is the single most important maintenance step. It ensures they stay fresh, crispy, and clean. You are simply removing the trash and giving them fresh air. And the best part? You don't need fancy equipment, special sunlight, or complicated schedules. This is the ultimate food hack because it runs itself. You start a new jar every couple of days, and within a week, you have a rotating supply of crunchy, living protein that costs almost nothing. When we talk about growing unlimited protein, we mean it. As long as you have a supply of dried lentils and water, you are never more than 4 days away from a fresh, massive batch of the ultimate health food. This is how ancient cultures survived famine, and it is the key to cheap, easy nutrition right now. This is where the magic happens. You take a boring, sleepy lentil, add water, and something incredible starts inside. The lentil thinks, oh my God, I have to grow right now. And it takes all the stuff it stored up for its big life journey, the dense fuel, and transforms it into pure, easy-to-use muscle-building material. It doesn't just sprout, it supercharges itself. Think of a tiny dry seed as a suitcase packed tightly with food. When you add water, it opens up the suitcase and reorganizes everything so it's easy to grab and eat. This process makes the protein more available to your body instantly. It becomes so much easier for you to digest, too. It's like the lentil did half the chewing for you just by deciding to wake up. The ancient trick, the one used by folks wandering the deserts, is absurdly simple. You get a jar, any jar, really. You put in a handful of lentils, you fill it with water like you're making tea, and let them sit overnight. They need a good long drink to get the message. The next morning, you dump out all the water. This is the most important part, drainage. They hate sitting in water. If they sit, they drown and they die. They just need to be damp, like a clean sponge. So you tip the jar completely upside down, maybe cover the top with a bit of mesh or an old stocking, so air can get in but bugs can't. Then, twice a day, every morning and evening, you just rinse them with fresh water and drain them immediately again. That's it. You are literally just rinsing and waiting like you're a hotel manager for tiny, demanding seeds. You don't need dirt, you don't need sunlight. They actually prefer the dark because they're trying to focus their energy on creating that internal food burst, not on making big green leaves. They just need fresh water and air circulation to keep them happy and clean. You can keep the jar right on your kitchen counter or tucked away in a cupboard. Within 3 or 4 days, those tiny lentils have tails. They look like little aliens stretching out of their beds. They're crunchy, sweet, and bursting with everything your body craves. Remember how we said unlimited protein? 1 cup of dry lentils turns into 2 or 3 cups of these sprouts because they fill up with water and volume. It multiplies itself. You're not just growing food, you're multiplying nutrition using nothing but water and a cheap jar. This multiplication factor is why this method was priceless to people trying to survive. It turns a small pantry item into an endless, regenerating source of power. This is survival food that tastes good, and it is the key to having a fresh, crunchy protein side dish every single day with 0 effort.